urban agriculture at the Milwaukee School of Engineering. He also received the University of Miami, Florida in 2021, the Trailblazer Award. He has been given the National Education Association Security Benefit Corporation Award for outstanding service in public education in recognition of his work with children, teachers, and schools. Allen has been named one of the world's most powerful foodies by Michael Pollan and Forbes magazine. Proud winner of the Donald Driver Award, October 2017. In 2019, Will Allen started hemp CBD business, offering the finest in organic hemp and CBD products. For more information on Mr. Allen and his unique projects, please go to farmerwillallen.com for more information. With that said, and with that introduction, I would like for everyone to please welcome Mr. Will Allen.
So which one do I use? Either one you want to use.
There's your clicker.
Well, good evening. You know, it's great to be here in Detroit, where I've spent quite a bit of time. We started working with Malik Akini, who you guys probably met earlier, in his organization quite a few years ago, and it was a great partnership. They were one of our regional partners. We had 15 regional training centers around the U.S., and they were one of them, and we helped them based on what we were doing in Milwaukee, and they spent a lot of time coming to Milwaukee. I also want to take a minute and thank Brianna. Stand up, please. I wouldn't, I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for this young lady, because she kind of walked me through the whole thing. You know, at my age right now, I need all the help I can get. And she really helped me, so I appreciate her and her organization and Virginia State. I met a lot of people from Virginia State, so kudos to you guys for what you're doing there. I hope to make it down there one of these days to see what's going on. And I met a lot of folks that I've worked with in the past here in the last couple of days. And it's good to see all the new faces, because it tells me that the movement is growing. You know, and that's for a lot of us folks that have been involved in this for a long time, that's very, very good to see that we have so many young people that are interested in going into the work in urban agriculture and rural agriculture. And, you know, it's really, really important. And I know Malik feels that way too, because he's worked with so many people and brought them along in his organization. And, I mean, we've lost a few of our people we started with, and, you know, we want to honor them as well. What I'd like to do tonight is kind of give you my version of what urban agriculture is. This is just my version. Everybody's got their own take on urban agriculture and do different things, and that's great. But, you know, some of the images you see, I'm big on images, by the way. You'll see will be of what we've done. And I'm showing the short version, because I have a version that has over 1,000 slides. And I don't know if you've ever seen 1,000 slides in a presentation, but I could do it in about 45 minutes, but, you know, I didn't bring that one. So let's get started. Hopefully I can work this thing. Might have to have somebody show me how to. See, that's why I need help, you know.
All right, so this is your forward. Look,
Oh,
this-
okay, all right.
And this one is your backward.
All right, okay. Here we go. Okay, I started way back working with kids when I first started in Milwaukee and kind of launched what we were doing. And I bought the last remaining farm in the city of Milwaukee, on the northwest side of Milwaukee. I was fortunate to be able to purchase this farm. It was actually built in the 1920s. It had a bunch of old greenhouses, A-frame greenhouses. And you can see that's one of them. And I started working with kids, like I said. And that's what the facility looked like. And this was our headquarters where we pretty much did everything. We used, even years ago, we started using renewable energy. We had solar panels for both electricity and heating our water. And this is a farm that we built on the south side of Milwaukee in Oak Creek, the town that I live in. And we grew inside year-round. We used a compost method that we came up with to heat those hoop houses. Some of you have been there to see that. We also grew in between the hoop houses, so we got protection from the weather. And this is right on the lakefront in Milwaukee, Lake Michigan. Again, those are the solar panels way back then, and we did tours every day. People would come in, and a lot of organizations would say, well, you got to sign up and come back later. Anybody who walked into the facility, we took them on a tour. So we toured people from all over the world. Even folks like these folks from, I think they were from Walmart, executives came back in the day when it was very controversial to work with these folks, but we did, because we work with everybody. And then we would do the trainings, from teaching people how to do mushrooms to workshops, because that's the only way to learn how to do this work, is to do it in a hands-on way. I mean, I could sit up here and talk to you about it, but unless you actually do it in a hands-on way, you're never going to learn how to do it. So that's why these workshops are so important. And of course, soil. And I kind of coined this phrase years ago. I claim it, and I've got some t-shirts and stuff that says it's all about the soil. Because if you don't have good soil, you can't grow good food, nutritious food. So it's really all about the soil. We did over 20,000 yards a year in compost to be able to do all of our projects in our 350 acres of production. And of course, we used the food waste from the city and different places and brewery waste. And we did it at first in these 4x4 bins. And we had a number of those when we first started. And we used coffee grinds and brewery waste. We're in a city where we have almost an unlimited amount of brewery waste in Milwaukee. We have Miller Brewery is there. I mean, they're so big we couldn't even use theirs because they had so much brewery waste. But we had a lot of lakefront breweries primarily. We used to pick up about 8,000 pounds a day to do our composting from there. And of course, wood chip. We're in a state where we have a lot of trees, so we'd have storms and a lot of wood chip was available. So that was our primary carbon source when we did our composting. And our fruits and vegetables collection, picking them up, and also getting them trucked in by Walmart, large amounts every day. And we would teach the kids how to do it in the city. And as a matter of fact, I got a call from a young man. He's not young anymore. He's in his 30s now. that called me today about wanting to hook up with me again, but soil was growing, I don't call it composting, I call it growing soil. It's what I do, I grow soil. And then our finished compost would look like this. And we would grow in this soil. And that was one of our worm depositories. Of course, worms were a big part of what we did. At one point, we had over 8,000 pounds of worms on our facility there. So we did a lot of vermicomposting. Delicious, huh? And it's something that kids really enjoyed working with the worms. And our worms, we treated them like livestock because that's what they are. They were our livestock. So we recovered our worms, and we also, my daughter Erica, who's in the business, she's also an artist. She designed this package here. We sold our worm castings to folks for fertilization, of course. And those are worm castings, the highest quality fertilizer, arguably, that you can use. And then we turned it into compost tea to spray it on our plants and put it in the ground and so forth. So, but this is something that nobody was doing back in the day. And one of the things that I continue to do, and one of the future projects I'm working on in Minneapolis right now, is taking asphalt and concrete and turning it into a farm. So we did this in Milwaukee, where we would put our wood chip down first and then compost on top, and we would grow in that about a foot of wood chip, 2 feet of compost, and then we'd grow. You could even grow small trees in that. So up in Minneapolis, we're going to do this project because every city needs to do this. In every city in America, we've gotten rid of all our grass, so we can't get rid of the carbon. So the only way to get rid of the carbon, well, there's a bunch of different ways in water and trees and so forth, but also in the soil. So this is a way for us to turn this concrete and asphalt back into a growing space, and also to sequester the carbon. It's really important for us to sequester carbon because we know what it's done to our, with the heat that we are dealing with in urban, around the world. We had 2 of the warmest days on planet this summer. So we got to fix that, and this is one of the ways to help fix that. So this is our signature growing style. A foot of wood chip, 2 feet of compost, raised beds, 18-inch pathways between. And people always ask me, Will, why do you have 18-inch pathways in between? And I say, because that's the size of my feet. So the only way I can get down there is that. And of course, we started aquaponics back in the day. And we had over 15 different systems growing tilapia at first, then we switched over to perch and walleye. It's something we're growing now. And these are 2 10,000-gallon systems that can grow 10,000 fish each and grow plants as well. And the plants actually take the waste out of the water. And then you can produce these wonderful fish that are healthy for you. That's tilapia. And these are lake perch. And unfortunately, our lake perch have disappeared from the Great Lakes. The only place you can actually drop nets anymore is the Canadian side of Lake Erie. So it's almost extinct unless we raise them inside or in systems. And this is another fish that we did. It's called a black pacu. It's an Amazonian fish out of Brazil. And because we work with the Great Lakes Institute, the School of Freshwater Science, we were able to get some of these and raise some of these. And it's probably, for chefs, the best tasting fish on the planet. And those are fillets. We did our own filleting of our fish, and then we would pack them in 10-pound boxes, and we would deliver those to restaurants and so forth. And I said I work with the Great Lakes Institute School of Freshwater Science at UW in Milwaukee, and these are lake perch that are breeders. We use those for breeding the eggs to produce the fingerlings that eventually wind up looking like these. Those are fingerlings. That's what they look like. I don't know if you can see them very well. And this is at the School of Freshwater Science. And I work with Dr. there, Fred Binkowski. He's the foremost person in the country doing this work, breeding. He developed the 4-season breeding. See, fish only breed once a year. So you have to develop a system where you have fish year-round. So what we did here is that we take a female fish out of the tank. And this does, what you're about to see does not hurt the fish, by the way. And you squeeze the egg strand out of the fish. Egg strand's about a yard long. Houses about 40,000 potential fish, fingerlings. And then you reach in the tank and grab a male fish, because you can't do this without a male. So we squeeze the sperm out of the male fish into the egg strand. We put it in a mixing bowl, just like you would in your kitchen. And you hand fertilize it. So he showed me how to do this, so I know how to do it. So if any of you all want to know how to do it, you can come and I'll teach you how to do it. And those are the egg strands. In a 1,000-gallon tank, you have about 700,000 potential fingerlings. You put them on a grate to elevate them. 12 days later, they hatch out. They're smaller than a mosquito when they come out. You can hardly see them. So we did a research lab at Growing Power, working with the university. And that was important because a lot of times universities don't want to work with nonprofit organizations. But we were fortunate to be able to work with the universities to do projects. And this was our laboratory growing in different kinds of ways. And the other thing that we did, we needed fish food. So I don't know if you all know what black soldier fly larvae are. They're actually a larva that's high in protein. And we would feed the chickens or would feed the fish with this larva. So we built 2 systems to grow these larvae. That's what they look like. They're in your backyard, they're everywhere. You guys just probably don't recognize them, but they're everywhere. Wherever there's waste, whether it was animal waste or whatever waste, you got these. And of course, to grow year-round. To grow year-round, we were able to use compost and brewery waste to heat up the outside of our hoop houses. And we also use it to heat the inside, so we didn't use any fossil fuel to grow our food. So we grew year-round. And that's one of the things, when you all start thinking about urban agriculture, how do you feed your community if you're only growing for a short period of time? You got to figure out how to grow food year-round. You know, and that's where the hoop houses, the indoor farms come into play. So this is how we did it. In the wintertime, we would cover those beds with plastic if it got down below 25 degrees. And because of the fertility, it's all about the soil. We want to have the highest fertility that you can produce or get to be able to grow very intensively. Because, see, in our cities, we don't have the same kind of land mass that we have in the rural areas. So on a vacant lot, how much can you grow on a vacant lot? You can grow a lot. But you got to have really good soil. It's all about the soil. You hear me say that a lot, because that's what it's all about when it comes to those of you who have farmed. If you're trying to grow on hard pan clay soil, you're out of luck. So this image is a dated image. This is my grandson, who's now 16 years old, Erica's son. So in the wintertime, we would cover with and very intensive production. You want to be able to grow this intensively in those hoop houses. So you can do this. Anybody can do this if they are able to grow their soil right, get their soil right. Now this particular image, because we did both urban and rural farming, this is 800,000 pounds of carrots that we grew in this field. And I planted all of those by hand. I didn't use a planter or anything. I broadcast seeded that whole field. And those carrots went to the public schools in Milwaukee and Chicago. Water catchment. We would capture the water off the hoop houses, the A-frame hoop houses, and reuse the water. So water conservation is important, even though we're next to the Great Lake Michigan, where we have lots of water. But you still want to be conscious of the fact that you need to capture, especially in a lot of places around the country. And then we had animals on the farm. We usually had about 60 goats there. This was the original goat that we had, Oakley, who was the father of all of these other goats. And they were beautiful goats. I mean, they were. And you can see where the neighborhood is. We're right in the city. And one of the things that doing urban agriculture, you have to get along with your neighbors. So you have to engage. You have to engage your community. That's a very important piece. If you're not able to engage the community, you're going to have a hard time. So that was one of the things. How do you get the community involved in your project? So we started working with pretty much every child in this very dense community with the largest public housing project called West Lawn in Milwaukee. We always had 600 layers. And of course, bees. And we would teach beekeeping is one of the things that we would teach at our workshops. And this is Chicago. We had a farm in Madison, Wisconsin. We had a farm in Chicago. Now we have 2 farms. My daughter Erica's got 2 farms that she operates. This is at Grant Park in Chicago. And if you're in a park like this, you want to grow vegetables and other herbs and things, but you have to have it aesthetically pleasing. So when you look at this, if you walked in that park, a lot of people would think that, oh, you're growing flowers. No, they were vegetables. And the youth in Chicago ran this farm. They did the majority of the labor, similar to what Malik and those guys are doing on their farm when we were up here in Detroit. So this is Grant Park. Pretty much the same growing style. You can see on the right there, raised beds. Same. I hauled this compost from Milwaukee because we did I think I mentioned we did 20,000 yards a year of compost. And we used to haul it down to Chicago at the time because they hadn't reached that point of doing composting yet in Chicago. So these are some of the 800,000 carrots that we grew, you saw in the other pictures. Now those carrots headed to Chicago. So I went down with some of the crew and we visited classrooms in Chicago. And we sold them, the school district, 30,000 pounds of carrots for one day of putting carrots on as part of their plate. One day, imagine that, 600,000 students in the system, 30,000 pounds of carrots were necessary. So we went to the classrooms, and I spoke to a lot of the classrooms about healthy food. And that carrot was the healthiest thing on the plate. You know, and they were raw carrots and the kids loved them. And then we did workshops. This is up at WEI in Minnesota. I've done that for the last almost 20 years. As a matter of fact, I want to invite all of you all to the upcoming training in Minnesota at WEI. We'll be doing an all-day composting workshop and another full day of workshops. It'll be September 28th, thank you, 28th and 29th. So we have over 100 people that show up for this workshop making compost, growing soil. And then in 2017, the state of Wisconsin allowed us to start doing hemp. And I didn't know anything about hemp, but I said, I'll give it a try. It looks like something else I've seen before, but, you know. But anyway, I started growing hemp, and we were pretty successful. And I started a company, a CBD company that I operate today. And of course, mushrooms, we did. So that was some of our compost at our site. And then I worked with President Clinton and the Clinton Global Initiative. And of course, First Lady Michelle Obama. So this is what the future, I'm going to show you what my version of what the future, especially for some of you young people, because of climate change and the fact that we're going to have to start growing indoors. So I designed this farm. It's a 5-story vertical farm. The cost of that is about $20 million, but it has a market on the first floor, has a basement with all the mechanicals, and half of the building is growing space, the other half is education, commercial kitchen, and things like that. And this is our latest project in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minneapolis. Not far from where George Floyd was murdered. And we're working on this 230,000 square foot building to build that out into a farm. And they're going to have other markets and other things inside this building. But my company, along with our partners in our nonprofit, we're going to take 30,000 square feet and use that ourselves. So this is, and those of you who have come to Milwaukee, this was an anaerobic digester to produce methane gas, to be able to use that methane a number of different ways. But the one that now was launched from this project is this one right here. This is my daughter's project in Chicago. It's a really big project. It's operational now. The methane goes into people's gas in Chicago to help fuel the city of Chicago. I should go back to this. The one tank is the mixing tank that's in the back. The other tank is the methane tank. And then there's a building that's about 2 football sizes, and that's where all the waste products come in from all over. Chicago has a lot of waste. And it gets separated, and then it goes into the mixing tank, and then it goes into the digester, and then the gas is produced. And then there's another product. The solids go out to farms to be used as fertilizer. So that's just another image of what it looks like. So the trucks back up to the docks, they unload. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to take a few questions if you guys have any questions. I don't know how much time I got, Brianna, but I'll take questions if that's okay.
Man, it's an honor. I wanted to know, how did you maintain, keep the worms contained without them escaping? Because I've tried to keep my worms in a container, but they've always escaped through the holes. When I went back and tried to find them, I realized that they got mixed in with all of the other soil. So I'm like, how did you do that in your
Okay, we had 8,000 pounds of worms on the farm. Worms will never leave their food. So if I put a windrow of worms up here, or a pile of compost with worms in it, and as long as I feed it and keep it moist, they'll never leave. And they'll just keep reproducing. They produce at 4 times their number every 4 months. So if you have 100 pounds of worms, you're going to have 400 pounds of worms 4 months later. If you do it the right way, by making sure they are well fed. So it's really important to make sure the worms are always fed. but not overfed. So that's part of what you have to learn in the training. All of this stuff in urban ag and rural agriculture, it just doesn't, one day you got, you know how they used to say, oh, you dumb farmers, you all, you know, anybody can grow a tomato. Or anybody can grow something, but all it takes is a little virus to come along and wipe out your whole farm, or a rainstorm like this year where many of my farmer friends have lost everything. So you have to learn how to farm. It's an art form. Farming is really an art form. That I learned, my family has been farming between my Native American, African American heritage 400 straight years. So I learned how to farm at a very young age. We didn't have money, but we knew how to grow food. When you read my book, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So it started with, you know, my parents who came up during the Jim Crow era and to Maryland, and me and my brothers, we learned how to grow stuff. I had my first sales when I was 5 years old, where we used to shell Ford Hook limas and put them in quart containers and take them across to the new subdivision and sell them for 75 cents a quart. Now, I wouldn't sell them for less than $5 a quart, if not more. So you have to learn how to farm. It's not easy, and you have to love it. Like to this day, I love farming. I love it. I'm just, you know, being over with you all. I love farming. Now, if you don't love it, it's going to be hard to do. There's a lot of people in this room that love to grow stuff. But if you don't love it, you're not going to stay in this business. It's probably one of the tougher occupations that you can get involved in. So I listen to all of the people talk and all of the different projects around the country and stuff, and I've seen so many of them just go out of business because they couldn't get their communities to get enough people, because if you get enough people that want to farm, it's amazing what you can do in a community. You can change policy with your policymakers, with the mayors, with the alder people or aldermen or council people or whatever. We can do that. Any other questions?
Oh, yes. Were there any special processing license that you needed to process the fish on the farm in Milwaukee, in the state that you're in specifically?
Can you repeat that?
Are there any specific processing licenses that you needed to get to process the fish on the farm?
It depends on what state you're in. We are controlled by the DNR, Department of Natural Resources. In some areas, like in Minnesota and places like that, you have to get a license to do fish farming. I don't know about Mississippi and other places, but or Michigan. Maybe Malik, you might know. You know. But if you have a farm, you can pretty much do it. You know, stay undercover. If you reach a large enough production where you're producing a couple million fish a year or something, you know, then you're going to be looked at differently than if I was at Malik's farm raising 100,000 fish. You know. Anybody else?
Thank you. Thank you so very much. My question is this. You know, we're all here, and we've been here a couple of days, but we've been tilling the soil for a while. Give us that. Will Allen is only Will Allen can do. I love this. The power is in the soil. Give us just 2 points that we need to continue to do to move from where we are now to what you've taken us to truly go to that next level. Just give us just that 2 powerful points. You said community was one, that big piece, and policy and working with your elected officials was the other. What are your 2 that you can give us, this crowd, to keep on pushing that needle to make a difference in urban ag?
Okay.
Help!
It's hard for me to hear, but I think your question was about the soil.
About the soil, but what do we need to do to continue to keep us together to grow this urban ag like you've done so far? What can we do? How do we do that?
Well, like I said earlier, and you saw images, you got to grow soil.
Say it again.
You have to grow soil. If you're not willing to do that, it's going to be a tough, or you got to buy it. Soil is too expensive for you to buy from these big companies. It's just too expensive to do urban ag by going out, unless you got lots of money that I don't know, that we didn't have. You got to grow your own soil. And that's why I do these workshops up in Minneapolis every year, and I do these workshops around the country and teach people how to do it. Because you have to do it the right way. You have to have equal parts carbon and equal parts nitrogen to grow good soil. Now, I've added another piece because I'm always trying to figure out how much fertility can I come up with. So I'm using biochar mixed with my compost. So you have high fertility compost, you mix it with 3/4 of compost to 1/4 of biochar. Biochar is charcoal. You get it by burning. But you gotta burn in a environmentally friendly way. Like in Africa, what they do in Africa is they dig a deep pit in the ground and they throw furniture and everything in there. And they start a fire. Probably 1,400 degrees or whatever. And then they fill it with soil. They smother it. And then it burns for days. And when it stops burning, it cools down, they take all that material out and they spread it on their farm fields. That's a way of getting fertility into your field. So what we're doing is we're taking our very good compost that we can grow really good crops in, and we're adding the biochar. 3/4 compost, 1/4 biochar. So when I get back home, I'm going to be doing a burn. But I smother it with soil so we're not sending carbon into the atmosphere. I hope that answered your... Anybody else?
Farmer Allen, thank you so much for being here. My question is, a few people gave remarks earlier today pertaining to passing on the baton to the younger generation. And my question is, what type of things have you put in place to make sure that your legacy carries on after you?
Well, I think urban agriculture is the key. In rural agriculture, it's hard to get kids to. It's harder, like if you went to a major agriculture area like, say, Georgia. Rural kids in Georgia don't want to farm anymore. So the key is to really do urban agriculture, working with the schools, working with the nonprofit organizations, and out of those hundreds of thousands of young people, we need to glean X amount of them that want to become farmers. So it's up to the leaders of these nonprofits for you guys to inspire the kids to do it. If you have the wrong people teaching them, it's just like anything else. You're not going to inspire them to do anything. So it's key for you all to inspire these young people and all of this talk I heard from USDA and all the projects. And everything. If you're not inspiring those kids, you're not going anywhere. So the key is in the cities, these major cities like this city, like Milwaukee, like New York, like all over, all the major cities. And small towns too, because those are kind of cities today too, small towns. But the kids will, a certain amount of kids will come on board. Not all of them. If your expectation, you take 100 kids, and if you can get 5 of them to become growers, that's a huge success. Don't expect 50 to become growers. If that's what you all's expectation is, you're out of luck. I'm just telling you, you're out of luck. So, get that 5, and that 5 is going to teach some of their peers. I work with a lot of athletes, and athletes seem to be the ones that are real interested in agriculture because of one reason. Does anybody tell me why athletes are interested in what we're doing? I'm going to tell you where you get your money from, okay? Anybody tell me? What was that?
Nutrition.
Exactly. Do you know that almost every major, not even major college, has a cafeteria now, not like when I was playing in college, that they have gourmet food that they're feeding these athletes. And every professional athlete today just about has a personal chef. My nephew is a personal chef for an NFL player. Travels with him. If he switches teams, he moves to that city where that player is. LeBron James is the key to all of this because LeBron James was the first athlete to really go all in on this nutritional piece. And look he's 40 years old, he plays like he's 20. So that's a lesson for all of us. Nutrition is really important. That we eat healthy food. We're very intentional about every day that we're eating, not just any food. Okay, I don't just eat any food. I'm looking for really healthy food to eat because I grow it myself. So most of the food I eat, I grow.
Thank you so much. Oh, sorry. Thank you so much for your wisdom tonight. I really appreciate it. You talked about you wouldn't be able to do this work if you didn't love farming. Can you share a little bit about where that love and that joy for farming comes from and what inspires you in that?
It's a longer story.
Okay.
So when I grew up in Maryland, I was forced to farm by my parents. My father, unlike many African American males that moved up in the 30s to get out of sharecropping, for some reason he wanted to continue farming. He just loved farming. So he made me and my brothers farm. So as I kind of grew kind of big, and I started playing sports. And I said, man, I'm gonna get me a scholarship and I'm gonna get the hell out of here. Because I was the biggest of the brothers. So guess who did most of the work? I did. So to make a long story short, when I started playing in college and everything, I wasn't even thinking about farming. It was playing sports and having a good time and trying to learn something, And once I got out of college, I started playing professional basketball. And then the last place I played was in Belgium. And one of my teammates, family had a farm. He said, Will, come on out on the farm and help us dig some potatoes. So I went out with him one day, and I started digging these potatoes, and all of a sudden, I don't know what came over me, but all of a sudden I wanted to farm again. That was it. I swear, that was a transformative moment. And I started growing food in Belgium. I had 25 chickens, where I made my team give me a house out in the country. And I had 25 chickens, we were growing food. And every year, because Belgium's such a small country, I knew all the other players on the other teams that I played against. And we had to be over there during the holidays. You know, basketball season was in the wintertime, fall, winter. And we would have, we'd go up to the military base and get a couple of big turkeys. I'd invite all the players from the States over to our house. And we'd eat the food that we grew. And here I was, doing stuff my parents did. Because at our house, and you're reading the book, we fed everybody. All my teammates would show up at 6 o'clock in the evening. My parents, friends, my teammates, everybody would meet at our house because we were the food people. So
Thank you. Thank
that's
you for that story.
a short version of the story.
Mr. Allen, you got a question over here.
Hi, my name is Danielle Martin, Farmer Will Allen. Just want to say thank you for your contribution, not just to this industry, but to our society at large. My question is more specific on the technicalities of how you manage to grow and scale from one point to the next. My role is more of a paper farmer. I'm often teaching farmers how to understand their industry as a business. And that's always one of the most complex topics is how they can grow and scale it from one point to the next. So if you could just give us some insight
So
on that.
what is your role again? I didn't catch.
Oh, I'm a consultant, but I'm with Time Inc. And I'm often teaching about record keeping and just farming as a business.
So are you teaching farming, or are you doing more of the
administrative.
organizing
Yes,
piece of it?
yes.
Well, that's necessary. But you have to know how to grow stuff. You can't do the organizing without growing stuff. I could never understand organizations that were so heavy into that part of it and not heavy into teaching people how to grow a tomato or a cucumber or whatever, a fish. So it's important for you, and the people that I hire, they got to learn how to farm before they can do the policy and the grant writing and all that. They got to know how to farm. Otherwise, they don't get hired by me if they're not willing to do that. We got a project in Minneapolis. People I'm going to hire, I'm going to hire a coordinator, compost technician. And people ask me, well, do I have to compost? Yeah. If you don't learn how to compost, you'll never get hired. And these are very well-paid jobs. Because one of the things that we did, and this is way back in the day, our lowest paid people on our farm, now think about this, 20 years ago, $15 an hour. There were farm workers around the nation that were not making $15 an hour. But we paid our people. We had 150 employees. That was one of the hardest things, hardest thing I had to deal with. How do I come up with that money to pay? That's why we had to sell a lot of produce and write a lot of grants, train a lot of people. That they had to pay for the trainings. That's the only way we can keep our organization alive. So to teach it or to administer it, you have to know a lot. I don't know how anybody can write a grant without understanding how it works. When I write narratives, I just write narratives. I don't do all the other little stuff. But I write the narratives. The only way I can write the narratives is I know how it works. So I hope that answers your question.
Got another, Mr.
I'll stay here all night if you want me to.
Good, good, good.
First, I want to appreciate all your work, and once again, as everybody else have done. I'm from Tennessee, by way of Des Moines, Iowa, and I'm a new
you say
farmer.
you're from?
Huh?
Where you from?
Des Moines, Iowa, but I live in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tennessee.
Yeah.
So one of the problems that we have in Memphis, as everyone knows, of course, is crime. Getting the young people involved by professional psychologists. And I'm just curious, your approach and strategy that you use to involve the young people, also teenagers, also the smaller ones. You know, give us some, some good advice on that, or maybe some pointers. Thank you.
Well, we had a youth program at Growing Power, and we had a youth corps, and we would engage in our neighborhood, which is one of the lower income neighborhoods. It has the largest housing project in Milwaukee, called West Lawn. The first thing I did, I realized I had to do, is to engage the people in the community, and it started with the families and engaging them. Because if the parents were not on board, or the guardian, or whoever, it wasn't going to work. So that's the first thing you have to do, is you have to engage the complete family to get involved. Because it was a requirement that the family had to get involved to be in our program. So you have to have some rules and policies around that to get the kids involved. We also work with daycare centers and so forth. And we had gardens at daycares. I mean, it was the coolest thing to see these little kids eating cherry tomatoes that they grew. So we would bring soil to the daycares and plant 5 or 6 tomato plants. You don't have to do a lot. But to get them to grow, you know how many cherry tomatoes you get off of a plant. So, kids would go crazy when the tomatoes were ready. So you have to do whatever technique you can find to get them to your locale, wherever you're working. I don't know your program, but you have to get them there, and you have to engage the parents. Now, sometimes the parents start thinking of you as a daycare center. We're not a daycare center. Take care of your 9 and 10-year-old kid, because I'm going to work the hell out of them. And if the parents don't like that, I come from a background where, and my grandkids, they know that they come around me, they're gonna work. So it's not being cruel, because guess what they do? They're gonna thank you years later. You know what I'm saying? They're thanking me years later. Like I said, I got a call from a young man today who said, "Will, you remember me? I saw you at the hospital because I had a farm accident, I hurt my leg, and I saw he was dropping off his grandmother, and he said, Will," I looked at this kid, he's like 30-some years old. He said, "I was in your program, and I got a call today from him." And I said, "I'll talk to you when I get back to Milwaukee." I know what he wants. He wants a job. He wants a job. And so you got to engage them in any way you can to get them to wherever your spot is. That's the key, to get them there and take care of them. Like, we feed those kids really well, because sometimes these kids don't have any food at home. And we send food home with them, because we're growing so much food, and I'm able to get food from other farmers that, if you all only knew how much food is thrown away off of farms, it would shock you. So you know, but to answer your question, you have to figure out a way of setting up your program where you can engage those kids. You know, I can't really tell you how to do it. You have to have your own style of doing it.
Mr. Will Allen. The man, the myth, the legend. Thank everybody so much. Before we get out of here, before we close out this session, we're going to bring up Dr. Howe. And I need a warm round of applause for this guy. Met him. We've been on this train with him for about a year now, and he all right with me. Dr. Howe.
Thank you, LeGrand. I appreciate that. Have you all had a wonderful time this evening? Have you had a wonderful time throughout this week? Are you recharged, refilled, energized, and excited to go back to your different cities and continue to do this work? This is not hard work. It's groundbreaking work. It's empowering work. It's creative work. But it's work that's going to move mountains and obstacles out of the way, and we will continue to excel. I don't know about you, but I've had a great time. Had a great time this week. Everything that has gone into the planning of this conference and this convening, it is all worth it. It is all worth it. But as I stand before you tonight, as we get ready to end out this great time and celebration, it would not be fitting if I do not stand here to thank our National Cooperator team, led by Mr. William Crutchfield, and other than the incomparable Dr. Cindy Ayers Elliott. Yeah, we can give it up for them. These two individuals, they have, every time that I've called them, every time that I've said, no, we're doing this, no, we're moving that, no, we're here, no, we're not doing that, they've taken it, and they have a wonderful and exceptional team. And I've just been so delighted and grateful to have the privilege of working with them. But how many of you know that no man is an island? And even though, I'm up here and you see me, I don't work in silo. Back in Washington, D.C., I have a great and wonderful group of colleagues that I work with. And I want you to know that everything that happens for what we have here, how you all are moving through your all cooperative agreements, while I may be the person that say yay, nay, okay, rise, fall, nope, we moving, the real applause, and I really mean this, goes to a few people that I want to introduce. I want to start by introducing and having Evelyn Whiteside to stand up. Evelyn and I talk almost every day. We have one of these love relationships. She gets off at 5 o'clock and I call her at 6:50. I call her on Teams. I bug her all times of the day, sometimes on weekends, but she sticks right beside me as the urban ag lead for FSA. And Evelyn, I thank you. She as I'm traveling to and fro, Evelyn will say, Dr. Howell, I need you to get this signed. Dr. Howell, I need you to get this in front of that. Dr. Howell, I need you to do that. Dr. Howell, I need you to, and I'm like, okay, Evelyn. And then when we talk, I say, Evelyn, what do I owe you? Because I know that I always owe her something. But Evelyn, I do appreciate it. I do appreciate everything. Second to that, I want to call on Linda Cronin to stand up. Linda, go ahead and stand up. Now, you know, there's a special kindred relationship between Linda and I. I wouldn't be standing on this stage tonight if it had not been for Linda Cronin. Linda Cronin is the lady that helped me get my start with Farm Service Agency some almost 17 years ago. That's right. That's right. And back then, when I was a county operations trainee, if she had told me that I would be standing here today as an SCD or as a senior policy advisor, I would have told her, no, not so. But one thing that Linda did tell me, she said, you have a lot of energy and you have a lot of propensity, and you're going to do great things one day to change and impact Virginia and the world. And Linda, I appreciate everything that you've poured into me as professionally, but more importantly, I also appreciate how we're able to have constant conversations, you as being the director of outreach for FSA, and how we work together to strategize how we continue to move these efforts forward at a state level, at a national level. So Linda, I appreciate that. Yes. Now, I got to also get Mr. William Cruz. Mr. William Cruz, you stand up. Yeah. Yeah. Because William, believe it or not, he is the guru behind all of the grants and the financial assistance. So he is actually the real person that you need to know. Because when you call, when you have a question or concern and you bring it to me, my first line to go to is say, hey, William, this is a problem and we need to get it fixed. But William, I appreciate everything that all of our workings together. When I call you, you're always staying ready to assist. You say, Dr. Howell, we're going to make it happen. Dr. Howell, don't you worry about it. Dr. Howell, I have it. And so I really, truly appreciate that. And so thank you. I also want to take time. Many of you all may have heard this term, OUAIP, and it stands for the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production. And I know they've had sessions throughout the time, but Brian Gussie, will you please stand up? Brian Gussie, yeah. And Leslie is here, and Marcus, and why don't y'all go ahead and stand up too? Y'all come on, stand up, yeah. Because while Brian is taking the time to lead the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production, a new office to USDA, and he has a great staff that is working with him, Brian and I continue to endeavor to make sure that these things can be funded, his office can be funded, this work can be funded. You've heard some of the challenges that Senator Stabenow and that Khadijah have talked about, but you know, we pick up the phone, we say, Brian says, Dr. Howard, did you know this? Brian, have you heard that? And you know, we're always working together. So Brian, I appreciate our working relationship. Marcus and Leslie, I appreciate you all's work that you all do for the Office of Urban Ag and Innovative Production and how you all help carry that umbrella for USDA. And so with that, you know, those are the people that are behind the scenes that's making this machine run. But I will tell you, I want you all to give yourselves a round of applause. That's right. I want to give you all a round of applause. Because as I said this morning, we need you. While we're working and we're doing what we can do, we need you to continue to be advocates. We need you to continue to grow soil, to build community, to tell your story. While there may not be a strong lobbying infrastructure, as was put in early in this conference, who are better advocates than us? Who are better advocates than us to tell this story? And to make sure that people hear this story, appreciate it, and respect it. And so I am so glad and delighted that all of you all have come out to us. I know I've already heard it. People have stopped me. When is the next conference? Where is it going to be next year? This, that, and the third. Well, y'all just stay tuned. Don't hold me to that, but just stay tuned. Be on the lookout. We'll figure, I don't know what will pour down, but if there's opportunities for us to continue the engagement, the dialogue, and the discussion, surely we are there and we stand ready to make sure those things can happen. I want to leave you with this. I grew up in an organization called the Minorities in Agriculture and Natural Resources and Related Science. And if there was one thing before I left being a part of that organization, so I want you all to repeat after me. I am New Ag. You are New Ag. We are New Ag. All right, we're going to do it all together. Now, I want y'all to get excited because y'all don't sound excited, man. I'm not a Baptist preacher or nothing, but I'm Baptist. But I'll tell you, I want somebody to say, I am New Ag. You are New Ag. We are New Ag. Thank you, and safe travels back to your various homes and destinations. Mr. Crutchfield, you have the mic.
Why do I always have to come behind a speaker like that? I'm kind of a dry guy, I just roll with the punches and all of that. But you know what? It takes a village to pull off a conference like this. It takes a village. But first thing I want to correct is that there are 550 of you in person at this conference. 150 are viewing us online. So let's give ourselves a round of applause. But I want to recognize that village behind me. Would that VSU team stand up, please? I know you all know Brianna. She goes without saying she's done an exceptional, great job. But there's a young lady that just flew in this morning, but she's the one that handled all of the logistics behind the conference. She had to stay home because her baby's ill, Miss C.T. Travis. Hey. She picked the hotel, she picked the meals. If you don't like anything, CCT. Then we had the others that managed the registration booth, Nadine Jackson, Deborah Jones. We even stole a guy from USDA, Herbert Brown. And then we wanted to give a real shout out to our MC, Dr. Marcus Coleman, who we just pulled him in from Tulane. And then the guys that kept everything going, Mr. Eddie Allen, Ben Dukes, Fred Custis, Mr. Tony Edwards, Mo, we call her, Arimento Wachelle. I got your name right, Mo. And Mr. James Gibbs. Give them a round of applause. And then the other people that work behind the scenes, we have a young lady in the back that handles all those beautiful graphics, that beautiful program that you have. She's running the machine back there now. Miss Leisha Burkle, you probably can't see her, but she's in the back. She did all of that. And then hats off to our photographers who've been going around taking your wonderful pictures. So this was the first national Urban Ag Conference. Is this going to be the last? It's up to you then. You need to fill out those surveys as they come out. We really need that. Tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly, which there will not be any, right? All right. Well, I want everyone to have a safe trip home. I hope to see some of you around the country as we travel, as we take this to the next step. So thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you again. At this time, I want to pull up my partner, who's been working with me. We started this journey about a year ago, and then when Ron called us and asked us, could we bring it together? I said, yeah. That's my new girlfriend.
Oh.
She got 2 grown sons.
Oh, he can't hold anything. First of all, let me say thank you so very much to each and every one of you. We could not have done this. Let's give another hand for a great team from the Virginia State University. I want to say I'm the new kid on the block. I like that new part. I like that new ag a whole lot. I want to also introduce time to improve money economics. How about that? I want to introduce it for everybody to stand. This is my crew, part of my crew for time that's out of Jackson, Mississippi. out of Mississippi coming out. We have our farm manager, our producer, our artist, Wendy. We got Michelet. We got my youngest farmer. Okay, everybody sit down. Let my youngest farmer stand up. Kobe. Kobe, turn around and let the people see you. Future. My engineer, my mathematics, my genius, and he's been with us since he was 10. And now he is the young man that he is, a junior in high school, an A student, a PAC student, and he keeps his grandmom straight as well. Miss Wendy, who is my market manager, she is an artist. She takes this food that we grow, and she lays it out so beautifully in the marketplace. It's so pretty when we go to the farmer's market. The people will come back and they look, they says, I want to buy that, but that's too pretty. I don't want to mess that up. And she says, only the way she could say it in this voice that she has from Trinidad, go on and take it. Wait till you see what I'm going to do when you pull that out. So it's a team effort. It's a great team effort. We got great farmers at home. I am a farmer. I am so proud to be a part of this and to understand, but to have my hero, Will Allen, I told him, I said, you know, when I read your book, they told me about you, I wanted to be that. And I still want to be that when I grow up, to be inspiring, to make things happen, not to sit still and settle. Look at what he's done. I want some worms now. But I am so happy. On behalf of New Ag, on behalf of all the great things that we will continue to do, I want to say thank you. I have to say thank you to USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, our USDA, that we are here. We appreciate what you're doing. You know, we believe in holding hands, hugging a lot too, but at least we'll start holding hands. To hold hands together, to be as strong as we can be. You know that our adage is you're only as strong as your weakest link. You only are as strong as your weakest link. I'm not going to be that weak link. Hold the hands up. Who's going to be? If you're not going to be a weak link and you're going to reach out and hold up, let's see those hands. Hands up. Strong hands. Hands up. Strong hands. Hands up. Strong hands. And as long as we hold these hands together, holding each other up when we fall to lift us up, when we're not sure if we're going to trip or not to pull us back, when we hold together, the force is powerful. The hands, Will Allen said, you got to have your hands in the soil. And the soil is the earth. It's about taking care of it and doing things. We have to hold together. There's going to be times when you want to run and turn or even say things that you can't take back. But as long as we stand up and support each other, as long as we pull together and not apart, as long as we believe in what we believe in, and that is feeding our communities. If we truly believe, and Will Allen said it, you got to love this. You're the chosen ones. You have to love what we do. You have to love to be in that sun. You have to love this. And you have to love in your heart what you are here to do. And we are the chosen ones. We are truly the ones that land in the soil to make a difference. It is us. We are them. It's time. I like that word. It's time for us to truly pull it together, to take this and build, to take this and make it stronger. Not only will it be another year, it's going to be another generation of what we're doing here in Urban Ag. Let me just again thank you for the opportunity. Again, we can't do it by ourselves. Reach out, call somebody, see what they're doing. How are you doing it this way? I want to be in Las Vegas. They grow in sand. I knew I can do this. We can do this, but we can do it together. And let's do that. Truly, let's do that. I'm going to leave for safe travels to everyone that's going back to your places. Take some of this energy with you. Take some of these things we've learned, pass it on. My grandfather would always tell me, and I couldn't understand this, he would say, I want you to be like an old refrigerator. And I said, Pop, why would I want to be like an old refrigerator? Why a refrigerator at all? He says, I don't want you to be able to hold nothing. I want you to tell everything you know, but make sure you know what you're talking about. I want you to put it all out there. Don't close those hands. Open them up. Share what you know. I sort of like being like an old refrigerator because I'm going to tell everything I know correctly. Thank you so very much. Oh, well, my boss said we have to acknowledge all of our universities, and I want to do that. You know, we have great universities throughout this country of America, from the 1890s to the 1862s to the 1994s. Because we are a university and educational system, we have to do this too in our systems. We got to start putting more of this information out together. You can't say, I'm going to go here because I'm 1890, I'm going to go here because I'm 1862. Last time I checked, education should have been about educating. So to all of our universities, the 17s that we have here in present, we have one 1890 that's a part of this as well. We're going to have more. Which every state that we're in, we're going to pull in everybody. Every education component that's there, we're going to pull it in because they are ours and we're theirs. Let's make us all strong by using the resources and the tools that we have. From our brown brothers and sisters, our black brothers and sisters, our white, beige, orange, green, all of American sisters and brothers. Let's use it together. Let's take it and embrace it and share it. Did I do good?
You did good.
Okay.
But I'm going to add to that. When Ronald called me and asked me if BSU would be willing to lead this initiative, of course I said yeah, but I need to bring along some partners. And with that, we brought Virginia Tech. Dr. Kim Nwamini, would you stand and be recognized? And then we also reached up in the great state of New York and we brought Cornell Universities. I know Judd is here, Vicki, and I don't see Kyle. All right, let's give them a round of applause because we're all in this together. This is a village bringing home USDA to understand urban agriculture. So please, please, continue to work with us as we work with you, and we're going to make this thing happen because this is not what? This is not the first national conference. It's the beginning of more urban ag national conferences, right? All right.
What ag? What's your word you tell us today? Or was that run?
I forgot.
What'd you tell us? Ag what?
Oh, I am new ag.
I'm new ag.
You are new ag.
You are new ag.
We are new ag.
We are new ag.
And that's a wrap.
Good night, everybody. Enjoy. Safe trip home.